Record. You wouldn't call
Yeah,
yourself
so the
a
so the
people.
life of a people pleaser is not a good one, I don't
No.
think.
To be your handle, people pleaser. That,
Yeah, or not.
um,
Well, I'll tell you, the older I get, the less trouble I have, being, just not like all friendly, just to anybody, stuff like that.
you say that, but you also say in another light that you are, our how to win friends and influence people conversation. Yet you also do naturally give people the time of day and or say hello, be friendly, try and be a light in someone's day as opposed to just passing by with your head down and like so many do.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. Like, I think right before we started, talking today, like, I was walking around, and there was some woman like, coming out to the parking lot to get in her car or whatever, and she just had like this like bad energy, big time, like, and I didn't say hello. I was just kind of like, "Ugh," just had like this terrible energy, just like emanating, and like, yeah, like stuff like that, like sort of paying attention to like, I never did that, like sort of paying attention to like the vibe or the energy that somebody is giving off. Because like my whole like, my mother's like this, and I suppose that's where I got it from. It's just thinking that everybody is nice, everybody is good, everybody wants to like you and all that. Like, you know, none of which is true, of course.
Well, she had the best intentions for you there, but I totally agree with the first part of what you were saying, like as far as the difference of when to say hello or engage and when you can clearly tell, you know what, I'm gonna not this time.
Yeah,
And yeah, I experience that all day long. You can catch when it's, it's not worth
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's like it's like they're a porcupine or something. Like, you don't even want to go near it.
And yet, there's still other times too. Maybe they're more few that you do have to engage with the bear for whatever reason. And if you're the right person in the right place in the right time, you might be able to like break their, barrier or their wall up and realize, there's a person underneath there that's all right. Not as bad energy as it first seemed like, but you know, maybe they're not as good as
Yeah,
whatever.
that's where some of the sort of winning friends kinds of tricks come in handy, right? Cracking somebody's like impenetrable exterior.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Yeah, I mean, I used to kind of do shit like that, like use you know kind of trick people into being different or something. Like, when I was waiting tables, like, the tough customers, right? They're pissed off the minute from the time they sit down. you know, like yeah, and you're never going to get $1 in a for a tip off of these people, but you have to work to win them over. You have to almost trick them into being friendly.
yeah, there's just a couple of different ways to handle it, and
Yeah,
after a while you might realize it's like it's real, yeah, it's doesn't, just going with the attitude and not trying or whatever because you know where it's gonna go. Uh
yeah,
in the end, it's just, it sours you. You're focused on this bad table. You wish you had that other table over there that other waiter has. It's making more money. You're gonna make money off of, and you know.
Yeah.
No, but lo and behold, somehow you just you do it anyways, and then you crack this like table that never tips. They are those people, and then lo and behold, I've done it before, where not every time, but yeah, it happens.
Yeah, yeah, obviously, yeah.
And then they're like, you know what? So,
Yeah, it's funny.
well, we're back. We're supposed to be talking about where we leave off. It was that reincarnation talk, and I was putting a glass on my head, and we talked a lot since then. We had the 4th of July in between. I didn't see one firework.
I didn't even go outside to look. Yeah, I just heard them, you know. It wasn't too bad actually.
Oh, good. Good, good.
Yeah,
Not bad over here either.
yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, we talked about stuff off off camera here already, and um, I don't know. I feel like I don't know what we feel like even talking about. You guys thoughts?
oh, I'm sure there was something.
Well, if all right, so what we want to just jump back in. It's the idea. There's quite a bit of things to talk about when you want to talk about reincarnation, and um, there's evidences and testimonies and theories, and I might have seemed like I was kind of you know brushing that away or saying that wasn't much, and I very much am willing to talk about those things and point at those, and I have and will. And I made some posts on Instagram in between. I haven't posted much, and I'm saying like whatever you want to make of this stuff, and all the different things we can investigate. At the end of the day, I got a pretty positive outlook about life and the way the world works, despite all the craziness and all these things we can talk about, and I'm willing to talk about. So then I like to do things down like that's just your choice. You can have that choice, and it's like it's a glass of water. It's like the whole analogy of seeing the world half empty or half full, and it's like, yeah, it's lazy and it's a big jump from where the conversation just was, but sometimes that's what I do. So with that
Well,
said,
you're the class clown.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It might not make much sense to do that, but that's I guess how it ended. And then, you know, we could talk about, these YouTube channels you've kept an eye on for a bit, and they are big time like investigating near-death experiences, and um yeah, then they investigate a bunch of them and come to some ideas that roll into these same conversations about reincarnation. The reincarnation, I quickly always say this term soul trap theory, and you've made the point we don't literally have to jump there just because we want to talk about the concept of reincarnation, which comes in all forms. And you're right. I just tend to again do that because I know the soul trap theory is a trendier conversation, and you could say it's always been there, forms of it, and that's true. I just know it's trending again, and I'm uber aware of what's trending, and I wonder why sometimes and who's behind it. And so it was
Well, I would just say that the only way to really, talk about this soul trap business, is to, examine the what's presented as evidence. You know, I mean, do you believe that things, do you believe that evidence matters?
See, the evidence matters. Certain
Yeah. Do you believe that it leads to anything, that it amounts to anything ever?
it leads to beliefs. Yeah.
Well, but are you talking about beliefs, in terms of like, like a leap of faith?
Well, you might be first
Or you're
present,
talking about like, like,
you might be first presenting matter in an idea that it's like this objective, foolproof, pure information. When I'm of the approach that that's always going to be actually a hard thing to do because there's perspective at play. And so the same piece of objective information will always has a possibility to be perceived from the south or to be perceived from the north. And depending on vantage point alone, you're now going to describe the same thing differently. And
well,
that's
does that go for something like, like the flat Earth stuff?
sure, surely,
So the camera on the beach that zooms in on the boat can be interpreted a variety of ways.
surely. It's how world works. It's how humans are out here.
Really, there's no evidence for the flat Earth.
Well, that's why I then tie in well then you go to like the consensus on things and then the fringe and you can kind of make sense of, you know, is the consensus and this particular thing we're trying to figure out where is it on the mainstream? Like the mainstream ideas that this quote unquote system likes to peddle. And then you can look at like I mean, the very first conversation we ever had about dinosaurs, you talked about, how tedious it is to mull through the information and to find good information. And so, yeah, you got to do that. But uh yes, I mean you through discernment, through experience, through the process of learning how to be a good researcher and find good information and good voices, you can kind of figure out when then you become good at skimming stuff that uh doesn't fit. And so those
Or not,
perspectives
or
that
not, or
are,
just not spending a lot of time.
what's that?
Yeah, or you learn to become more efficient, with, the more you like read or whatever, stuff like that. It's like becoming good at an instrument. It's the same thing.
Yeah, so like we're over by flat Earth, and there might be some things we like the to your point, looking out in the ocean, we've gotten good, and we can see there's a very good reason to be having the conversation we are over there, and now as maybe the mainstream tips or what have you. It's just like if there's still a few people thinking we're crazy for using cameras to see impossible distances to then suggest curvature is not there, whatever they're suggesting, it's like we can throw it out. Like obviously the mainstream of this group of people looking at this conversation can all agree we can use these cameras to not see curvature. And you know, just I guess case by case, you're gonna do something like that.
Well, yeah, I
Although
mean,
the case is reincarnation or something. I don't know.
yeah, right. So can you say, so it is a matter of perspective, when you're standing on a beach with no camera, no zoom lens, watching the ship disappear, right? It looks like it fucking disappears. That's what it looks like to everybody,
A good analogy you're about to set up.
but then you get the camera, you get the fucking magic camera, you know, and lo and behold, there it is. It didn't go anywhere. It's just, this trick of perspective, you know. Uh, in the first case, where you have no camera, that's a set of data, like everybody's, sort of collect, data, because everybody sees the same thing, uh, and it looks like it disappears. But that's one data set. But then it's modified, you know, in a way, that nobody can, you know, effectively deny, right? When you zoom in and there's the boat. It's not over a curve. It's not anywhere.
Okay,
It's
wait,
just out to sea.
make the analogy out with the reincarnation now. The beach without the camera and with the camera. I'm interested what you have to say about what it means though when you have the camera and this information. But
Well, for example, I mean, okay, so you can read about, you know, the endless reincarnation cycle in like Hinduism or Buddhism and stuff like that, but they don't, okay, so, and you've got, an enormous number of people, all over the world that adhere to these, religions or whatever. Not that Buddhism considers itself a religion in any case, but so you have this general sort of view, but without any kind of like evidence, to go with it.
standing out
There's
without
they don't lay out any kind of evidence like in the holy books or whatever, right? And so I would just say, like, it's like some of these studies, like the one about, people who were born blind, and have a near death experience, and are able to see and describe, things, that would be impossible, and their near death experience, it also, lines up with, like, pretty much, everybody who, could see and had a near death experience. You got the light tunnel, you got the spirit guides, etc. The checklist, right? The checklist that has been sort of established. These commonalities across, like, pretty much all the near death experiences across time, countries, races, genders, right? You got all these things in common. Um, anyway, so that's what I'm saying. Like, or the studies on, like, in terms of reincarnation with, like, these kids who have past life memories, right? And these, people, like, investigating this stuff were able to document, that, what these was coming out of the mouth of these kids, like, that they used to live, in such a place, and they used to be married, and they had a kid, and blah blah blah, and here's what the kitchen table looks like, and, just impossible shit, right? They're able to go and, like, verify that, like, it's actually the case. The kid says, my name used to be Jim or whatever. Johnny is not my name. My name is Jim, and I used to live here, and, blah blah blah. As sort of like evidence of, reincarnation. So stuff like that is what I find is the most interesting part. The parts that are more compelling, of course, because of some sort of evidence.
I agree. I heard a medium or information being pulled of somehow. Yeah, I hear it as compelling as well when people put information out on the internet, testimonies that they found or maybe someone wrote about in a book. Yeah, it's
Well,
all
I mean, like the study that I was just, or the book, that I was just referring to, not by name or anything. This was, that guy Ian Stevenson, who was at the, University of Virginia in the psychology department. He basically, founded, or created an entire department, uh, in order to, conduct this kind of, like, research. on mainly on children. So it's not just and there's a lot of people involved, and like this Ian Stevenson has since died, and another guy has taken over, kind of where he left off in his research, so they've continued. In any case, so it's not like it's just Joe Schmo on the internet, like or somebody's like just like testimony. You know they went out of their way. And you can read this stuff. It's really fascinating stuff. I mean, it really is. You should read it. You should check it out, man. Like, because
Well, you remember my,
just listening to me talk about it, like, isn't doesn't really convey, much.
well, remember, I mean, we've already talked about if anyone was for some reason listen to all of us, I talked about having someone read about my past lives. So just, it's like you want me to hear the testimonies, which I agree, and I'm always acknowledging exist. I guess this is where it's a conversation. Does it stand alone? We're just saying there's all these interesting conversations about reincarnation. Stands alone there. Because my premise is the world is working just fine. So
Huh?
if there's reincarnation going on, it's going on. The world is working just fine. Now, if you want to,
Well, I mean, that's a value judgment. I mean, you
right,
don't have to say that, maybe it's not working just fine. Maybe it's working just okay.
that's a choice you have to perceive it as. Yes, I agree.
I guess. I just don't see how the University of Virginia studying reincarnation equals the world is working just fine.
Well, I'm saying that's already my premise, whether you understand it from this conversation or because I've been screaming it from a mountaintop for a while now. I go into a conversation about reincarnation and all the evidences with that as a premise of who I am and how I perceive everything I hear.
So you're really not interested in like uh so you have a preconceived conclusion or
World is
whatever.
working just fine. Yes, I do.
So what's the point of like in yeah, I mean, what's the point? I mean, like you have nothing more to study or read for the rest of your life. You
No,
already you're
I'll find other people to connect with.
you're already at the end. I
You're
mean,
asking, you're no, you're telling me you're challenging me.
cover everybody.
Like I don't have anything to talk about. I have lots. I mean, if with you, maybe we might find an ending point. If that's not, understood that, yeah, I'll go find, and I have like plenty of people that get that with me. The world's just fine. Let's go do something. We're all creators. Let's go create stuff. So,
Well, I already do create stuff. I mean, I create lots of stuff. I mean, but it's not based on whether I think the world is okay or not. You know, I don't know. I mean, why is that necessary?
you're challenging that I won't have things to talk about because I think the world's fine, which is a crazy thing to challenge. When a lot of
No,
people,
it's not. It's like you already have a preconceived. It's like the science, the so-called like pharmaceutical company. They pay for a study and they tell the whoever's doing the research or the experiment or whatever, here's what we want you to here's your conclusion, here's your results,
I
and
don't,
this is what you're
I
going to
don't,
write.
I don't care if that I'm wearing. I don't care if that's.
Well, that's very, I mean, that's well, what's the point then? I mean, you can go talk about like how great everything is with whoever. I mean, have fun. I mean, that's not much of a conversation.
Oh, for some of us, it is. We can talk about some things and then bring it back to where things are going, like keep it positive. That's a thing that a lot of people do. It's not really, it's not something I'm worried about. It'll be just fine.
Well, great. Right. I mean, you know, I mean, you're still going to die. How
Yeah,
great is that?
how
Is that
great.
great?
I just talked with Rio Purple Gray about death in the group chat, and that's like the perfect analogy of someone that's on that side of things, because he was talking about death in a beautiful way. And he was talking about some concepts about spirits and demons and people stuck here, and some of this stuff you and I have talked about, the in-between stuff. And anyways, he was talking about his grandmother. He's from the Caribbean. He's I forgot exactly where, but anyways, he was talking about how certain there's a certain philosophy of being ready for death. Like, I can't put it in the words he put it into, but it was positive, and it was something that resonated completely with me on how a person would go into death. When you're ready, it's like it's not death, it's just another doorway, and you're gonna go experience the next thing, and you're excited for it, you're ready for it. And to a degree, you talk about that, but you got other ideas too, maybe. I don't know, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, but I know Forever Consciousness, that YouTube page, does about opening that door, and their ideas, what that means, what's going on. So uh just answering you, there are people I can talk to about things, and we're all gonna die, and it's like whatever, like.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just saying, where's the intellectual curiosity? I mean, I mean, if your mind's already made up, I mean, like, my Christian mom, she already has her mind made up about, how the fucking world works, and like, God's gonna do this, and God's gonna save her, and she's gonna go to heaven, and she doesn't need to hear anything that contradicts it. She doesn't care.
It's just, it's my values that I want to stay in this light, because I've said it, I've challenged you to accept this out of me. Like, I have been presented with all these ideas already. You and I constantly are repeating the same concept. Everything is just repackaging of the same old ideas. So I have gone through the depths of all I need to then retract my statement and be like, what, actually, this world isn't all right. There's a lot of fucked up things going on, but I've already done my time, and I've come to the conclusion that the world is just fine. And it is what it is. If you don't like that, I'm still going to try and be an intellectual and talk about things, but I'm going to constantly revert to that positivity, like it or not.
Well, it's neither here nor there to me. I mean, I mean, you're free to think whatever the hell you want. Mhm. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I mean, what's left to investigate? I mean,
I would investigate how you say from Forever Consciousness. If it's on record, because we're recording this, you said something like, you used the word all. They all hit this checklist. They all hit this checklist that then starts to paint this case about reincarnation, and how it possibly is against your better wishes, etc. But my challenge is, like, it's so similar to me to the trans investigation conversation we had, where these accounts are saying they all hit these checklists, proving this person is actually a female when they're presenting that they are male, because they all hit these bone structure checklists, and I have the information, I've done the work, and I'm gonna just keep saying they all do this. And I just keep hearing that out, Forever Conscious in you, that all these near-death experiences hit these checklists beyond a shadow of a doubt. And it's lazy, and it's a little, you're using the word all like in a way I would not, because it's just it's
Well,
the
if I said all, I didn't mean to say all.
no, you
Nobody
don't, but they
nobody said all.
they do. This is like how convincing they
Like
are.
he doesn't say all, and he's not the one who came up with the checklist anyway. I mean, in the first place. I mean, I sent you, who came up with the checklist, you
But,
know?
but isn't that person also then, wouldn't you say they're like the person behind Soul Trap theory? Whoever did come up with the checklist, or is the checklist just
No,
very
no, they had no notion of such a thing.
so what is the checklist to your recollection, or some of the points? That every time someone has a near-death experience, they
Well,
encounter
it's they see the light tunnel,
white light.
right? Yeah, the white light. They encounter like either dead relatives or friends, spirit guides, or things they think are, is God, some voice, stuff like that. But they also there's also kind of like imagery like that, that pops up a lot, like water, classical sort of architecture, um, stuff like that.
They all say it's a feeling that, they talk about Forever Consciousness kept saying all these accounts are suggesting they are feeling something like so euphoric. It's beyond
Oh
words.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. Like the overwhelming love, like the all-consuming love, like, and they always say, like, over and over again, like different people say, like, that like it's unlike any kind of love, here on earth. It's beyond, it's yeah, yeah. Like you hear that like constant. You really do hear it constantly.
See, because I'm kind of like, I'm separating it all from each other. I also hear that on drug encounters, it's a pretty common thing actually as well, where people experience an
Yeah.
I love and being at one with the universe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely like crossover between stuff like near-death experiences and sort of breakthrough drug trips. Yeah.
So so then I'd point to like what's chemically going on maybe in the brain, because the drugs are doing that to the brain to experience that. And now at a near death level, is your brain also, doing something similar? And then you're gonna, have the same type of vision. I don't know.
Well, like, but like, like you could, I mean, like your dreams, like every night, it's kind of like a fucking drug trip, sort of, I mean, it's dreams are pretty strange things. Is it all just in your head, or do you have a soul that, is participating in some sort of like astral travel, and those are your dreams, like or is it simply a bunch of chemicals in your brain, right? They say that love is just a bunch of chemical reactions in your brain, love, right? And near death experiences, undoubtedly just a bunch of chemical reactions fizzing in your little head, you know um
Maybe
but that's what I find interesting about, like, in the cases of like the people who were born blind, for instance, right? They're born blind. They don't have, this reservoir of, or a lifetime of experience of visual experiences and stuff like this. They never saw a fucking thing in their life, and yet they experience, and they come back with the same fucking things as the people who could see their
yeah,
whole life.
they have to be pulling that from somewhere else that is not, yeah, I understand that is a real.
I mean, it's, I mean, so like, whether it's all bullshit or it's not bullshit, um it's not the question. you know it's if one is truly interested in like how this fucking place works, what's going on and stuff like that. That's why I asked you, at the beginning of this, like, do you believe in such a thing as like evidence and that it matters? That's all I'm getting at.
I
I'm
was,
not, I don't have a worldview or whatever that prescribes
we're
me
gonna,
to judge a thing one way or the other. It's not, I'm not judging, I'm just looking, and
I was saying that was a great point. We're about to be cut off. We're just keep clashing. I was saying that's a great point about the blind stuff. I was backing every bit of it off. And
oh, that's fine. Well, that's good. Okay. I mean, I think it's interesting.
that's what I was saying. Very much is where is he pulling it from? That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. So it's trippy, man. So it's like,